So I know in some more recent videos I've been putting out, showcasing some models I've been working on, I've talked about my interest in modeling the nickel plate, and how my model's been reflecting modeling the nickel plate. But up until now, which is the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday 2022, I've not had a layout to run them on. So today we built this layout. When completed, it will depict the nickel plate road in about 1957, maybe 58, some scenes from the Cleveland and Buffalo division, which kind of make up the eastern end of the nickel plate road's main line. The Cleveland division ran east from ran east from Bellevue to Conneaut, Ohio, and then the Buffalo division ran east from Conneaut to Buffalo, which was the eastern terminus of the nickel plate's main line. So this layout, when complete, will model some scenes from both of those divisions, the east end of the nickel plate and O scale in the mid-50s. So in this video, I want to talk a little bit about the construction, just the general construction, general overview of the layout. I'll show a track plan and look at some, give kind of like an impromptu tour, and I'll show some pictures that, are inspired of scenes that I would like to model on this layout when it is complete. So this layout, the general overview of the layout is about 14 feet 3 inches wide, and it's about 6.5 feet deep. And then so the area here in the middle is open. So the layout can be viewed from either where I'm standing at now or in the inside. And I did this for two reasons, because I think when a layout is this large, it's not the biggest layout, but it's big enough. I think it's larger than, I don't like having giant solid tables for a couple of reasons. I think one, it's just a lot of wasted wood and a lot of wasted scenery potential, because you have this giant space to fill in the center with, at least with the track plan I'm doing, which is just a big loop. You have a lot of unfilled scenery, and that just doesn't seem, just a lot of dead space, and you have to buy more lumber to fill up that dead space. And the bigger reason, I think, is having the layout kind of broken up into different areas creates a sense of distance, and doesn't make it all seem like it's just one giant table. It makes it seem a little more realistic. And it also provides more viewing angles. Like I said, I can view it from either where I'm standing or inside the layout or anywhere on the ends and such. So it just creates a lot more different viewing angles that you can't get, that you really can't get from other layouts that I've seen. So I was really happy, I spent a lot of time on the track plan and just the overall layout design to get it exactly how I wanted it. And I'm pretty satisfied with it. Like I said, this layout isn't, compared to like some other layouts that you might see, like the big basement empires, it's not very big, but I think it can definitely give off a big layout feel. And before I go any further with this, I have to give credit where credit is due, and that's to my friend Nick, because without him, really anything nickel plate that I have, as far as engines in this layout would not be possible. I've been planning this layout for a real long time. Well, things considered, a pretty long time. I've been planning it since mid-July, I would say. I started kind of started thinking about it and drawing up some plans. And I tweaked the plans multiple times, and I'll show a track plan here in a second. But I have no experience building a layout. I'm not a very handy person. I consider myself. I'm not really good with tools or that kind of stuff, or woodworking or carpentry you kind of have to build a layout. Whereas Nick has built multiple layouts. He has a great layout now, modeling the Pennsylvania Railroad. He has a YouTube channel on it. Kiski Division Railroad, again, I'm pretty sure if you watch this video, I'm like a sponsor of his channel at this point, because I mentioned him so many times. But he has a lot of experience building a layout. And so when I showed him the track plan and said, "Do you think this is possible?" He was like, "Yeah, we can definitely do that." And so we worked things out. He was able to come over today. He was over most of the day. We just hammered out and got pretty much we got the whole basic bench work done. If you watch Nick's videos and seen his layout, he actually did a video all on Benchwork. This Benchwork setup is identical to how his is. This is basically his design. I think it works really well. It's all 1x3s. It's all 1x3s. Like all the wood here it's all 1x3. So it makes the layout very light. It does not weigh. It's compared to using 2x4s or 2x6s or something. It's an extremely lightweight. So it can be taken apart and moved fairly easily, which might be something I have to do with this layout in the future. And it's just a very, very simple design. It took most of the day to build, but it wasn't hard work. It wasn't, I think for me, my brother and Nick all worked on it together. And I think, we finished it within about a day's work. Most of the big work we finished all within a day. So, this design I think is a really smart design. As you can see, it's not quite ready for track yet, because I have to get plywood. There'll be like a plywood ribbon almost, and I'll put the track on top of that. So the layout is not track ready yet, but the biggest part is done, which I'm pretty happy about. You know, it's kind of looking like something. So again, I have to give a huge thanks to Nick, you know, for his expertise in layout building, his skill in layout building. So I think without him, this layout would not be coming along nearly as fast as it did today. All right, so I moved positions here. Now I'm on the inside of the layout, and I walked around here as I have a copy of the track plan here I wanted to show off. But just to give you an overview of how it looks on the inside, the layout, as I mentioned, is 6.5 feet wide, and then each side of the table here is 2 feet. So 2 feet, 2 feet, and then in here is about, what, 2.5 feet? I'm really bad at math, but the aisle width is more than enough for me. You know, I fit in here perfectly fine. I'm probably the only person who's regularly in here, but if, you know, someone else wanted to come in here, it wouldn't be an issue. So, you know, I like it because it provides, again, multiple viewing angles to view it from out here, out there, or in here. You can get a better view of this side of the layout. So, works out really well. But here's a copy of the track plan. Again, this is, I revised the track plan here multiple times. This is like the 3rd or 4th iteration that you know, before I decided I liked it the most. But the top of the page here is depicting this side of the layout up against the wall. And the bottom of the page is depicting this side of the layout, which is, you know, over towards the rest of the room. But I chose to model 2 primary scenes in the layout, 2 primary areas in the layout. The top scene here, this is Brockton, New York. So right here, this is Brockton, New York. And I chose to model Brockton, and I kind of touched on this in my Pennsy J1 video, is because the Pennsy interchanged with the nickel plate at Brockton, and then going east towards Buffalo, they actually jointly had a jointly operated main line. So Pennsy had the eastbound main and nickel plate had the westbound main. They ran side by side. And so I thought I should model Brockton so I could at least have the option to include a second railroad. So I modeled Brockton, I mean, not perfectly, but I was able to get it pretty close. I'll show some pictures here in a second, but the track is curving in the right direction for the most part. The Pennsy branches off here, and don't mind it kind of ending here. Eventually, I didn't put the track plan, it will come off and go to the edge of the table. The Brockton was a neat spot. There was a lot more to Brockton than what I have modeled. The Pennsy had a yard and engine servicing facility. I think the nickel plate had a yard, and there's a lot more happening at Brockton here than I was able to model. But given the space constraints, I think I actually did a pretty good job as far as modeling it, you know, somewhat accurate, you know, modeling it as close enough as I can. So that's the scene of Brockton. And as we come around the curve here, past where my laptop is, and then right about here, you'll see the double track main crossing over the nickel plate. This is the New York Central main line. The New York Central and nickel plate parallel each other very closely. All from Buffalo, pretty much all the way, you know, close down to Bellevue. They ran, especially through Western New York and through the sliver of Pennsylvania. They were like side by side. In New York, once you got into Ohio, they split off a little bit. They had a little bit of distance between them. But the New York Central crossed over the nickel plate at a town called Vermilion, which is, I'm actually modeling Vermilion slightly on this side of the layout, but I moved it here to the outskirts of Lorain, Ohio, just so I could, because it just fit the scene better to have it over here, and I thought it'd be a neat thing to model. So New York Central crosses over the nickel plate in this corner here, and then it comes around the curve here, and then it crosses over the Black River. And that's why I have this area lowered here. This area this table was placed lower than the rest of it, because this will be the location of the lift bridge over the Black River. Now, 1957, or really any time in the 50s, prior to 1974, there was actually a swing bridge here. The lift bridge wasn't installed until 1974, which is well after the steam era and well after the nickel plate in general. By that point, it was Norfolk and Western. But I chose to put a lift bridge here for a few reasons. The primary reason was there is no good model of a swing bridge made in O scale. Lionel did make a swing bridge model, but it does not look very good. It looks very condensed, and I don't even think it would fit in the length that I have it here. So that kind of ruled it out immediately, and nobody else makes a good swing bridge that's commercially available. Maybe there's one that could be custom made or whatnot, but I wasn't about to go do that. That's expensive, and it would take a lot of time. I don't have the patience or the money for that. However, Lionel makes a really good model of a lift bridge from the early 2000s, I want to say. It's a really solid model, easy to find. It's a little on the pricey side, but it's no more than, you know, a new engine would cost or something. But they make a really good lift bridge, and it's a good model, good standard model for what is actually at Lorain today, and was there, and this is, you know, since the 70s. So I chose to put a lift bridge there. Don't have the lift bridge yet, but that'll come hopefully pretty soon, because I kind of need it. It's kind of like a centerpiece of the layout, so I definitely want to get the lift bridge in. So after the trains cross the lift bridge, they come into the town of Lorain, Ohio. And I chose to model Lorain because because I really wanted to model something that was kind of near the lake. I took some trips over to Sandusky, Ohio, going to Cedar Point and such, and I like that area up there along the lake. And Sandusky is not too far from Lorain. And so Lorain really fit well because, again, it provided an opportunity to model another railroad. The Lorain, or the nickel plate crossed over the Baltimore and Ohio at grade here on a crossover, right there in downtown Lorain. So that provided an opportunity to model another railroad, not in a huge capacity, but at least I could say the B&O is somewhat represented on here. Then the almost bigger reason I wanted to do it is because of going west of Lorain, which will be on this curve here, which is in this area of the layout. The nickel plate main line ran directly along the shore of Lake Erie, and that was something I definitely wanted to model because, you know, up in the Cedar Point, Sandusky area, the New York Central main line, which is the now Norfolk Southern Chicago line, runs directly along, it actually runs through a causeway through Lake Erie. And I went up there for the first time this year, like to that specific causeway, and I was pretty inspired. So it was a really neat area. It was really cool. So I really wanted to include something like that on my layout. And so that's actually where I'm kind of at a dilemma on this right now. The more accurate option would be to model it running right along the shore of Lake Erie, but I might model a causeway instead and kind of model something loosely inspired off of the Sandusky Bay Causeway, which is the New York Central that I referenced earlier. So that's kind of to be decided right now. If you have any input on that, leave that in the comments what I should do. But I don't know, I'm not really sure. It'll definitely be a lake scene in this area. Since I've never really seen anybody model like something like this before. So it's gonna be an interesting challenge and an interesting, hopefully a good outcome. Fingers crossed. But as we come out into this corner, this will be a loose representation of Vermilion, Ohio, which is the next town going west from Lorain. Wasn't much in Vermilion. The nickel plate had like a crossing or two here, and they had, I believe, an interlocking here, but wasn't too much in Lorain. But I figured I might as well have this dead area. I might as well throw a crossing in and represent Vermilion. That's kind of, you know, more to be determined. Then we come back around and we teleport going west from Ohio somehow back into New York, and we end up back in Brockton again. So that's a general overview of the layout. You know, I think it's a pretty solid track line. I'm pretty happy with what I came up with. So I'm gonna finish this video up by just showing some pictures that have been, you know, inspirational or for me, just some good prototype pictures of the actual areas that I want to model. And I have to give credit to the Nickel Plate Railroad Historical Society because they have a great free archive. Like, you don't have to be a member of it or anything. You can go up here and search any picture you want on anywhere in the nickel plate in any era, and they probably have a picture of it. So the Nickel Plate Archives has been my best friend in finding research and finding some good prototype pictures for the layout because there's so much good stuff on here. This first picture, this is at Brockton. I believe this is 57, I want to say. But this is Nickel Plate 772 going west at Brockton. And this is a really neat picture because it displays the track layout at Brockton pretty well. So the 772 here is on the main line. It's going west on the main line. Not sure what this track was. I don't know if it's some kind of secondary track, maybe a siding or something going to an industry. But the track over here, this is the Pensy Chautauqua branch, going down, branching off the Nickel Plate going south. And this is neat. You got the guy, you know, the signalman. You have the signal tower up here. You can see a little bit of the Pensy Freight House and Pensy Station, which is interesting. I definitely want to model something along those lines. And then over here, you can see, that's even better. Over here's the New York Central, which I will not be modeling, but the New York Central and Nickel Plate ran side by side up through Western New York, as I talked about. So you can see the New York Central Depot here. I'll not be modeling that, but this is just I think it's a really interesting scene that has a lot of great pictures in here. This picture here is the tower that was at Brockton. So they actually there's an interlocking at Brockton. It was called BM, and they had a little BM tower. It's not much of a tower at all. It's more of a shack. But this is BM Tower. Again, I like to model this. My brother does a lot of 3D printing, so it'd be cool if he can 3D print this building for me. It's not very big. This picture's in the 70s, but I think it looked pretty much identical to how it looked in the 50s. And then going here, this is at Lorain. You can see the swing bridge here in the background. This is a westbound train coming off of the lift bridge here, or the swing bridge at the time at Lorain. Again, in my era, in my layout, this will be the lift bridge instead of a swing bridge. You got the 740 and I think the 770 double heading here through Lorain. Neat scene. You can see it goes double track here, and directly behind the photographer is where the diamond was with the Baltimore and Ohio's main. This is, you can see, I guess it'd be the station platform there. I don't know, but this is the station was right along here. I like the semaphores too. I think I want to model this. Definitely want to have a model semaphores here. Now mine will be single track, as you can see here. Don't have room for double track, so mine will be single track, but it'll capture the flavor of the scene pretty well. Another picture at Lorraine. You can see a little bit of the depot here. This is the depot. If you look really close, you can kind of make out the B&O main coming across. We got 742 coming westbound through Lorraine. I have a model 742. It's kind of why I picked that when I modeled that engine, why I picked that number specifically. I like this one here, the Lorraine lumber, and I think there's actually, not in this picture, you can't see it, but I believe there was a cool like Lorraine, some kind of lumber or some kind of billboard here. It'd be cool to have that billboard modeled in Lorraine. But I think I got the Lorraine pretty close. This would be right about here on the layout or on the track plan. You could get this seen pretty closely. And this is looking west at Lorraine. This is where I was talking about. They run right along Lake Erie. This is a scene I might model. This is the 777. This is going eastbound. This is probably approaching Lorraine, approaching the town of Lorraine, running right along Lake Erie. Neat scene. Again, I might model this, and this is my other alternative option. This is an NS Modern Pictures. This is at Sandusky Bay on the New York Central main. Well, what was formerly the New York Central main. So I won't model if I do model the scene, I will not model the drawbridge. Don't have enough room for that. Love to model the drawbridge. That just will not be possible. But leave a comment below what you like better. So I don't know. We got the bay, or we got just the lakeside running. I don't know. Leave a comment. See what you. I'm curious to know what you think. At this point, I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards the bay. I think it's just I've been here before. I think it's just a really neat scene. But I don't know. I'm on the fence. So that's about it for this first layout update on the East End layout. I'm really excited to be able to do layout updates. I've always enjoyed watching other people post layout updates, so it's pretty cool to be able to post one of my own. You see the layout is, literally just started. It's only hours old at this point, so I will have a lot more to share in the future. A lot more track. I'm gonna do a lot of like super detailing, super weathering when it comes to the track and ballasting and all the small things I think oftentimes get overlooked, especially in O-scale. So I want mine to be exceptionally good. So really excited to share a lot of that stuff in the coming weeks. So stay tuned, check back for more, and thanks for watching.